to move the slide on. Thank you very much. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our second last session of our virtual conference. It's been a fantastic 3 days. We are delighted with the support we've had and the connections we've made and the skills we've learnt and the information we've been able to share. So hopefully everybody who's managed to get along to our events have got something out of it. So this is a large meeting room we're having today. So Kezia, if you could move the slide on, I'll just explain a little bit about the format. So some of you may have attended our webinars, which obviously look quite different on your screen, but this is a large meeting because it's quite an interactive session all about governance and member involvement. So you will actually see all the speakers and all the other attendees. And if you want to see somebody particularly closely, you can click on 3 dots and pin them. And you can choose between gallery view and speaker view. So you can see either everybody all at once or just one speaker at a time. And there's a little box that says view at the top of your screen where you can click on and choose that option. What we're planning to do for this session, it is interactive, but just to allow us to be able to share some information with you, Kezia is going to mute your microphones for parts of the session and then unmute at other times when we're looking for discussion and feedback. So bear with us, but Kezia will keep everybody right about what she'd like them to do. But we are hoping this is a bit of an exchange today and a bit more involvement from other people at the session. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to Kezia. Kezia, do you want to stop sharing your screen just for a second, just to introduce yourselves, Helen? Our member involvement workers.
Hi everyone, I'm Kezia.
Hi, I'm Helen.
And Kezia and Helen are going to run this session in a partnership and with support from some members and trustees from Neighbourhood Networks. So thanks again to everyone who's contributed towards this session. I'll pass you back to Kezia now.
Hi everyone, so I will get started. So welcome to our session on member involvement at Neighbourhood Networks. Yeah, if at any point there's any sound issues, please just let one of us know, either in the chat or just by putting up your hand. So Neighbourhood Networks is very committed to member involvement. So as Heather said, we've got 2 member involvement workers, myself and my colleague Helen, and we also understand that member involvement can be done quite badly in quite a superficial and tokenistic way. But we're really committed to putting in that effort to make it authentic and genuine. So I'm going to speak to you about 2 main aspects of member involvement that we have at Neighbourhood Networks, so the network representatives or the net reps and the board of trustees. And both sections are going to follow the same kind of structure. So there'll be a brief introduction and then there'll be an interview where I've interviewed members so that they can talk about their experiences in their own words. And at the end of each section, there'll be a time for questions, and that is when you all get unmuted and you can have the opportunity to talk. So that will happen twice, at the end of the net rep section and at the end of board of trustees section. So the network representatives, as we call them, the net reps, are there to give a voice to the members at the grassroots level and to create a flow of information between the networks and the wider organisation. And it's really in line with Neighbourhood Networks' model of facilitating peer support networks that really are within communities. But what's great about the net reps is it's not just about within those specific communities, but it also connects our members across all of the networks, all across the central belt that we have. And each network can have up to 1 or 2 net reps that they can choose to put forward themselves. So the net reps discuss many things. They come and they share stories and things that are going on within their networks. And it was also an opportunity for them to discuss and have a say in how things are moving forward with the organisation. So they might be involved in discussions about fundraising, or most recently, they've been involved in creating and delivering a members questionnaire. So this was the first slide of the report that we created based on the questionnaire. So the net reps helped create the questions for the questionnaire that got sent out to all the members to answer questions about their involvement in the organisation and how they feel the organisation is going. Yeah, we had 82 people reply to it, and we're really committed to having this questionnaire involved in how the organisation takes its next steps. So I've just got two examples here. So one of something that the net reps thought we did really well on, and one that they thought we could work on some more. So after we sent the questionnaire out, we made a report on it, and then we took this back to the net reps first and foremost before sending it out to the rest of the staff, so that we could get their feedback on it, and they graded us on each of the questions. So this was the question: are you listened to in the writing of your own support plan and risk assessment? And 92% of the respondents said they did, which we were very pleased with. And the net reps also thought this was great, so they gave us an A for this. They said they thought we were really getting this right and that the answer reflected their own personal experiences. So that was really brilliant to hear. And then this question, how have you been involved? Have you been involved with the recruitment of new staff? Was more mixed. So 20% said yes, 2% said sometimes, 59% said no, and 19% said it wasn't applicable to them. So that may mean that they're a new member and haven't been given the opportunity yet. But the net reps gave us a D for this. So this was something that Neighbourhood Networks could do better with. And that we should look for ways of improving, which we're doing now, and ideas for discussed. And we are really incorporating this into how we move forward with involving the members in recruitment. So making sure that all the members that want to are going to have an opportunity to sit in on interviews or to understand the recruitment process and be involved as much as possible. So this is a way that net reps can really have their say in things that maybe aren't being done as well as they would like them to, or how things are going to move forward. So we now have this video. So I interviewed all of these net reps previously to give everyone an opportunity to be involved in this. Even those who couldn't come today, there are lots of net reps who aren't in this for various reasons. Either they chose not to speak or there wasn't time to interview them all, sadly. So first of all, I just want to say a big thank you to all the net reps that are in this video, but also to all of the ones who contribute anyway, but maybe aren't in this video. So in this video is William from Bells Hill, Donna from Wishaw One, Neil from Shotts, Stephen from Kilsyth, and Francis from Dumbarton. And I would like to say I'm aware that there is a T missing from Shotts in this video. It was a spelling mistake, and I can promise it was far too much effort to fix it, but I am aware, and apologies to everyone from Shotts.
How would you explain the role of a net rep to someone?
For the job I do, for the net rep is I've got to moan, as well as the net rep meetings, I've got to moan group meetings, and then we sit and talk about what we're doing in our own group meetings, and then anything else that needs to be done. And then when next time I go to my net rep meeting, then we sit and tell Helen and just kind of reverse the questions back and forward and talk to each other and talk to Helen and then that basically I just kind of go in my group and whatever needs to be done or what other members need help with, and we can help each other, that type thing.
It's whatever you're doing, what the network does, you go the pictures or you go 10-pin bowling, whatever you do, you put that back each the next meeting every 3 months. Usually you report back and see what you did as a network for the last time you met as a net rep. Is basically that's what it is. And any members, you can things you want to say, you can bring that to your net rep as well. Things that they want to do that you don't do.
We go to our groups and ask them if they've got anything that they want to bring up to the organisation as a net rep. They would come to me and say, oh Donna, we've done this today or we've done that today, to take back to the meeting. You would take that back to your net rep meeting.
We talk to events is getting the one brought up.
So you ask your network if they want anything brought up.
We say to them what they want brought up, what's important for us to go to our group and say, right, we want this is what we talked about. So it just depends whether each person can bring something up and it gets passed to the rep, and the rep passes on.
Do you feel like the members in your network often give you stuff to say? Are they quite engaged with the network meetings through you? They often give you things that they want brought up?
We've brought up things. friends. And like, things that are important that we want to talk about, you know, and then we bring it back again to the head. Well, obviously it's back to Ellen. We bring our friends up that we want to talk about.
I'll just discuss what my network's been doing and if I've got any members. Oh, well, you can have your say if things is not going right into things and if you like to improve things, different things.
Like maybe if someone comes on to be like a new net rep person, you can take them through the skills that you have as a net rep person.
Meeting up with Helen, the other members, it was net reps, and we were always going to different areas. So, and we just talked about what was happening within our net. Every net, came round them all and asked what was happening in your group and what did you say? They kind of questions. Well, as I said earlier, whatever we speak at our net rep, then next time we have a group meeting, I sat and talked to William about it, or talked to some of the members about it, said what we've been sitting talking about, or what needs to be done or fixed out, or
as well, I used to go up and do the office in their offices, and I used to go with the wee group chats in one of the wee rooms with some of the reps as well. We used to sit and talk about different things as well, and we plan things. As I say, it was just to plan these, how to raise money, you know, to boost the funds a bit.
Hopefully before long we'll be able to get to see each people face to face at net rep meetings.
And why did you want to be a net rep?
I can't remember who it was, but I do remember my community living worker sat me down, but I don't know if he sat in a group or because it was that long ago, or can't remember if it was a group or he got as individuals to see what one wanted to be a net rep, or he asked one to. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, when he asked me, I just jumped at the idea because I think within a lot of things that was happening in Neighbourhood Networks, there were a lot of things happening, and I would always put my name down and never get forward for a lot of things. So I said to myself, well, if I do this, then at least I'm put my name down. At least I can able. How can I put this in one word? Like within helping, because when you're, what I get told, you're not just helping your own group, you're helping other groups as well. So I said, if I do this, I'm helping myself and helping other people as well. So I've just jumped at the chance and I just said, I would do it, no bother.
And why do you enjoy being a net rep?
In my mind, well, as I said a wee while ago, I like to help not just myself, but other members and other new members come along. If they're needing help, then I like to help them as well. And then, or any other members or members that's needing help with other stuff, then I just like to, it's just the way I'm at. Because it's, for me, it's kind of good for me because you're meeting like maybe other net reps and maybe you could be meeting new net reps. But at the end of the day, it's good to meet with other members as well.
Dumbarton Network, do you feel like you help and have that responsibility because you're a net rep? So even if there's things that are going on within your network that aren't related to the actual net rep meetings, still as a net rep, you feel like you have a bit of responsibility to sort of help and support people. That's good.
You need that good responsibility with people, and it's not so much that, because it's, if you've not got that, you know, and you kind of help people, you know, it's a sorry day if you can't help anybody else in your group, because that's what it's all about.
It is, yeah.
And that's what the reps are about as well, to try and help that person, you know, to help with problems, or, you know what I mean? That's why the reps I think they're important to EV groups as well. You know what I mean?
So you think it's a good thing we've got the net reps?
I don't think, I don't know whether it matters whether you didn't have them, no, but I think you're better having them in your group.
Well, you're meeting different members as well from different networks: Glasgow, Edinburgh, Bellshill, Coatbridge, Marwell, Wishaw.
So you like having that opportunity to meet people from other places?
Yes.
It's good for me, because at the end of the day, I keep saying to myself, it's a good thing that I've done. It's good for me, because then wherever the next rep meeting is, then I can always go to it and whatever we're going to be talking about. And sometimes you meet when the meeting's finished, sometimes you meet other members before you go home. I'm hoping I'll stay a net rep for as long as I can.
I like being the rep. I like being in the group. As I say,
It's nice connecting with the other networks.
It's lovely to see our networks.
Sounds like Neighbourhood Networks gives quite a lot of opportunities for members to be involved in the organisation itself and to actually have their voice heard within the organisation.
And it's nice that way to put your points across. Being a rep too, you know what I mean? Because I mean, all of your group of people, they'll tell you, right, we want this brought up, you know, what does the group talk about today? And, you know, that's part of the thing with being a rep too. You know, you write things and you've got to try and remember what was to be brought up. So it's quite a hard thing too. It's not just an easy, you know, it's not an easy thing. But it can be quite hard to be a rep. You know what I mean? Because it's a bit of responsibility. You know what I mean? It's not just a, you know what I mean? And it's good, I suppose it's good to have that, but it's good to have that wee bit of responsibility too.
Have you learned anything or gained any skills from being a net rep?
Well, it's not something I would have done before I joined it, that, anything of this, I would never have done, pick off one back, but just I've been encouraged to do it and saying I could do it, yeah, well, I never spoke, when I started, I never spoke to anybody at all, there's people just talk to me in the church hall in Bellshill, not my own church hall, Baptist Bellshill. I just sat and people to talk to me, and eventually started going out up to like Shorts, and then with Court Street meetings, in Glasgow and Edinburgh, or the different ones for, all over Scotland, so that helped.
I think so. Well, I think we would need to get something, if we get something out of being a rep as well, do you know what I mean? Because it's not I think it's a privilege being a rep, you know what I mean, to be asked to be one, because you're not always asked to be and it's a privilege to be asked to be one, do you know what I mean? You need that good responsibility with people, and it's not so much that, because it's, if you've not got that, and you can't help people, it's a sorry day if you can't help anybody else in your group, because that's what it's all about.
It is, yeah.
And that's what the reps are about as well, to try and help that person, to help with problems, or, you know what I mean? That's why the reps I think they're important to EV groups as well.
How would you explain the role of a net rep to someone? Great, thank you. So thank you to all the networks who spoke about their experiences there. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a moment and we can unmute people if anyone has any comments or any questions that they would like to ask any of our net reps.
Just a little bit of feedback from the chat. So Matt Sangs joined us again from New Zealand, saying he loves this idea and he's going to go back to New Zealand to talk about it with the members and community connections. So thanks, Matt.
I think the members spoke up very well there, Kezia.
Yeah, they did a great job. And I also had to edit it down because otherwise we would have been here all evening. So yeah, but they spoke brilliantly, all of them. Well, we can keep going for now and then we can open it back up to questions at the very end, if that works. Heather says it looks like people are still muted. It does.
The other thing is if you're there, you can put your hand up as well if you want to. There's a wee reaction button at the bottom, and you can put your hand up if you want to ask any questions. So remember, we've got that tool as well. If anybody wants to ask anything, feel free to raise your hand. I'll show you me raising mine. There you go, that's what it looks like. Oh, we have a question from Matt. Matt, can you hear us?
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Matt.
Hey, as I said, I really love that idea and I'd love to talk to our members here in New Zealand about it. I just had a question around the importance of either having someone from the organisation facilitating the NetRep sort of meetings, or do you have someone external come in to sort of chair the meetings or support those meetings? So someone that's kind of a bit more independent.
Helen, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I usually go to the meetings. They used to be in the real world, but they've been on Zoom just recently, just like everything else. But I'm there to kind of encourage the members to have their say. I would suggest that I'm just on the members' side.
Perfect, thank you.
I would say as well, Matt, that there are real issues that come back, that get fed back to the central team or sometimes the senior management team. And we're not always able to, I suppose, give people the answer back they want, but we can at least have a dialogue and a discussion about why something might be. So at least it helps, it gives a dialogue, but it doesn't mean to say that we can always say yes to every request or always grant everybody's wishes, but at least it raises the issue and it helps us, you know, talk to people about their understanding of something. And then of course, other times these things are, the things that come back are easily sorted and we can do something about it. So it is real, it is a real process and real exchange of information.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was just wondering around, I know that our members love seeing like myself or other senior management, you know, come along and talk to them. And generally, I think they would like to speak freely, but I was wondering if that can be a barrier for people, you know, expressing everything that they want to express and you know, maybe that that leadership comes in, you know, later on where people have had a chance to sort of talk more freely and not feeling like they have to say the things that people want them to say because there's some management around or some of the leadership or some of the board around them, and that you know, having an opportunity to sort of chat away and discuss things that have an impact on their groups, and then feedback later.
I suppose the thing is we're trying to create a culture where that is openness and dialogue. But I suppose the other thing we do in addition, Matt, is we do external evaluation as well of our services to give us an opportunity to have that fresh pair of eyes and that person is in a more neutral position. So the NetRep work doesn't stand alone in that respect. We regularly bring independent people in to do pieces of evaluation, which is obviously really helpful as well. But we're really trying to create an open culture where people are free and it's transparent and we can feed back and you know, take action.
Yeah, No, that's brilliant. I feel we have the same in our organisation, but I was just sort of checking in what you did.
Yeah.
I've already put a question up on our Facebook page about this to see if members want to get involved. So been proactive on it straight away because I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
That's great. It's great to hear from you, Matt. And also, it wasn't in the video, but it was at the end of one of the interviews, we actually brought up this connection that we're hoping to have with your organisation. And interestingly, one of the members, Francis, what he said was that it would be really nice to chat to them and hear if they have things like the net reps, and if not, give them like tips on how we run it. So it was interesting that they're coming up with sort of wanting this to be a discussion point when we do get that connection going anyway.
Oh, great. Well, maybe if we set up a group, we can contact your net rep group to get some advice. They might be able to zoom in at some stage.
Definitely.
Thank you.
You're muted, Heather.
I just wanted a reminder to people that we are recording all these sessions. I put something in the chat, but I just wanted to let people know I was supposed to say something at the beginning, but I forgot. So if you're particularly shy, you don't want your voice to be recorded or your image to be used, then just stay muted and keep your camera off. But just to let people know that we are going to record, we are recording these and going to be using them later. So thank you.
Great. So I'm going to move on then. Thank you. So next I want to talk a bit about the Board of Trustees, specifically the member trustees. So on our Board of Trustees, we ideally don't have our full non-member trustees. We don't have all of them at the moment, but the idea is that there is an equal split between members of Neighbourhood Networks who are on the board and then non-member trustees, which will explain a little bit more about that process. So having members on the board is about supporting the members' voices to be heard at the highest level of the organisation. So each member, they serve for 3 years and then an option to serve for another 3 years after that before stepping down after their 6 years. And all the members who wish to be on the board go through a governance process first of all, which my colleague Helen is going to tell you a bit more about.
Right, so in the first instance, we ask community living workers to speak to members about whether or not they want to put themselves forward to be member trustees for Neighbourhood Networks. Anybody who's interested then can submit an application form, a reference from their community living worker and an outside reference. They'll then be invited to come on to the governance training. This is a 4-week, 4 sessions over 4 weeks. And in the first session, we look at the nuts and bolts of what the board does, who's on the board, special rules like the chairman and the treasurer and things. And we also invite current members of the board and ex-members of the board to come on and speak about their experience and tell the candidates how they felt about it. In the second session, we look at the members, the candidates themselves, to explore what skills and talents and qualities and experiences that they have that they can bring to the board. And it's basically a confidence building session. Third session, it concentrates on finance, and that's primarily run by Julie, finance manager, and she speaks about the accounts of Neighbourhood Networks and the importance of the board's oversight over the accounts of Neighbourhood Networks. The fourth session is about preparing the members for the interview, which is the next stage. So all candidates go and have an interview with existing members of the board. And this is a genuine interview. Not all candidates get through this. So we end up with a number of candidates at the end of that. 1 year we had 2 candidates and 2 vacancies, so that was easily done. But most years we have more candidates than there are vacancies. So we then go to an election of the membership to decide who's going to be the next member trustees of Neighbourhood Networks. Candidates get a chance to promote themselves. It used to be in person or done by film. Just recently we've done a kind of Zoom hustings event, and then the members vote and they decide who goes on. When somebody goes onto the board, they are buddied up with a non-member trustee so they can help each other fulfill the role that they have. And importantly as well, I wanted to say that although the governance training is primarily aimed at members who want to put themselves forward for the board, it can also be used in other ways to help boost the confidence of the members so that they can put themselves forward perhaps for other roles in the organisation or in the community, or put themselves forward for jobs. So it's a good learning experience and we always have positive feedback. But I'd be interested to see what the members have said, Kezia.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. Yeah, so again, we've now got a slightly longer video with some of our board members and former board members talking about their experiences. So we have William from Bells Hill, Neil from Shotts, Paul from Coatbridge, Kenny from Dumbarton, Ross from Wishaw 2, Andrew from Cumbernauld, and also Neil Park, who is one of our non-member trustees and who is the vice chair of the board.
What's the job of the board?
Well, you start off with, starts off with any apologies, any, the last minutes of the last board meeting, then you go through certain things, and right through everything, right to the financial at the end, and you just go through different things, and you can speak at the first time if you want. The first time you don't need to speak. If you the first time you're a board member, you can just listen and see how it goes. But you can, if you want to, you contribute, and then you can always be able to second it and put, approve and second it.
Just looking now on the meetings, like new updates and like financial, like monies and different networks being going on, like the news and stuff like that.
The board meeting can last the whole day, and we discuss all of the talking points about Neighbourhood Networks that have made itself into the agenda, such as new news about expanding networks, any grants money that they've earned. There's news about their charity events. They discuss the finances and they discuss the general running of the network. We kind of just discuss the main points of whether there's good points or bad points, or and that's all discussed at the board meeting. So that to make sure that the network is going the right way and not the wrong way.
Well, the role of the board is very much a leadership one, in the sense that the board sets the sort of strategic agenda. So we determine how best to deliver, both in terms of existing members and how we might best grow our network across Scotland with new local authorities. And the role of the board is then very much one, as we're a charity, we have a number of rules and regulations which we have to conform to. So it's making sure that things like our financial management is good, that our governance arrangements are good, and at the same time we recognise that we're ultimately there for our members. So making sure that our staff and our network of community workers can support our members, because that's ultimately why we're here.
Why did you want to join the Board of Trustees?
Just to help out all phrases for the Neighbourhood Networks, right up to date.
Well, when I first applied, I felt as if I had enough competence and skills to actually carry out a job as second support of being on the board of Neighbourhood Networks. That was my main motivational factor as to why I wanted to join up, because I felt as if I could lend my expertise and be of assistance to the board, is what I would say. Yeah.
Try to offer my services as much as I possibly could. Encouraging people to put themselves forward as well. to speak up and all that. Because when I first went into the board, I was a nervous wreck, to say the least. But it was somebody coming towards me going, "Andrew, it's absolutely fine." And then obviously in my second year, I was given the same advice to the next year to come up.
What was the process of becoming a board member?
You went and done the training, then you were took through like an interview process, then you were videoed, and if they thought like you had passed that, like your training, that you would get the interview, you would be interviewed. To become a board member.
You should go there 2 weeks before I'm joined. They've been talking about like different things and
did you get some sort of training to help you understand what it would be like being a board member?
Yeah, it's just like helping now how things go on with all different groups around the places and like finances.
Well, initially when I was joining, yes, I had to do the governance training, and that was for 2 years because I applied before I never actually got on. So that was my second year of applying. The first time I actually got through to the candidates, I put myself forward as one of the final candidates to be elected onto the board, and obviously it goes through a voting system, and basically I didn't accumulate enough votes the first year to get on the board, so that's why I never got on it. But the second year I actually accumulated the most, and that's why I got on it the second year.
The first time I done the training, I didn't get through, but there was a member from Bells Hill was stepping down. So Heather had phoned me the Monday and said to me, take time to think about it, because I was just pipped by 2 votes. She said, take your time to think about it, and I went, do you know what, I'm just going to go for it.
Good. And are you glad you did?
Yep.
You do governance training in at the head office, it tells you everything, and then you get to know about the networks and that, and you do like quizzes and that and things like that, you do that for 4 or 5 weeks, I think it is. And then at the end of that, then you decide whether there's, you want to go on the board or not. If it's something only 1 space, sometimes there's more. When I joined, it was 3, so that year, so the 3 years got on. Yeah, you get everything, as I say, you get discuss what you know on the network. You do a quiz, you see your mind, networks in your mind, and I got quite a few actually, Well, saying that, the ones on outside Edinburgh, got everyone bar 1 and forgot shots. I'm not with every Friday.
Yes, we were given a few sessions on basically it told you about what the board was set up to achieve, what it was for, what it was about, and we were given interview practice and also some games and skills that we did in the group that would help us get through the interview.
And what was the process like for becoming the chair of the board?
It was actually quite emotional actually when I was named chair of the board, because prior to me being chair, one of my best friends passed away.
I'm sorry.
And witnessing, in my case, a special moment because it was in my hometown. I was named chair of the board, which is actually quite sweet. And when my buddy Tim announced it, I was almost crying. And I just took one of the guys. I just said, "That's for you, Scott." It was my friend that passed away. It was obviously it was emotional, but trying to deal with that emotion at the same time. I thought of my friends at the time, just trying to carry his legacy to me becoming chair and looking after the people that I cared about. It was just not my friends. I felt like it was a family. It's me being chair of the board and
well, you felt like the board was a family.
Yeah.
As I understand it, I was the only person that put themselves forward to be on the chair. So it was basically a case of the other trustees, non-member and member, telling, just having a conversation about whether or not I was good enough or whether or not I could do a job like that. And they were all in agreement that, yes, I could do a job like that because my confidence had developed to a point where I felt as if it was for me. So, yes, that's how I initially got on the chairperson role.
And then also now, as I say, this year Ross is sitting as chair, so put in for that to be actually a chairman, but it won't find out till August.
So you put yourself forward to be the next chair?
Yeah, there's two, me and Paul, it was that close at the last board meeting, he couldn't decide, so what you're going to do is shadow Ross up to August and see what it does, and then see if it's still want to do it, and then find out in August. There's only one place, obviously, so there's two. So they're going to do that. They're going to shadow Ross up till he leaves in August to see what it's about and see if you still want to do it.
Why do you enjoy being on the Board of Trustees?
It's not just about the decision making and the serious aspect, but the fact that you're, mingling with people that are of a certain background, like business and maybe I don't know, law or something like that. That's the sort of people that you're mingling with or talking to, and you get to know their background as you go along, and that's the interesting aspect about it, and it's what I enjoy the most.
Great, thanks. And that's you're referring to the non-member trustees, is that right?
Non-member trustees I'm referring to, yes, the ones that have got a background out with the organisation, yes.
And I think your outlook is different on life as well. You become more positive, and I've found the being more part of the board and the network. It's made it more pleasant. It made me feel more part of doing something that I enjoy. So,
because I want to be on the board to help out the board, me not get any struggling, like just keep it on track. Any more good news, if it be some bad news, might try to sort it out and do their best.
Oh, well, you can have your say if things is not going right into things, and if you like to improve things, different things.
What skills have you learned or developed from being on the board?
Well, my communication skills have been a lot better because I've actually done asking questions. I never actually asked a lot of questions. Long before I joined the network, I was very poor on that. But obviously, since I joined the board, I've needed to be a bit more braver and bolder. And that's basically a main difference that you can see in me, because now I ask questions a lot. So yes, that's something that I've seen a difference myself.
My skills becoming a board member was being able to read things out and everything, because years and years and years and years ago I could never read anything out. Near I could, and if you ask me now, I just can do it. That was the main thing, and the other skills was I could never ever travel on my own to Glasgow or anything. And it was one day, Helen said to Anne-Marie, to find your confidence, maybe you're putting her on the train that morning. You're putting her on the train that morning at Wishaw and seeing how she gets on. Do you know I done it?
Just been worrying about like finances, like being much your money, not spend too much, and try to keep it safe. I think that's a very important one. We need to watch out.
I think I've learned to speak up when I think I know what I'm saying is right, and I've earned a lot of confidence, and I've learned a lot really about Neighbourhood Networks.
Oh, you can have, well, in being the board, you can have your say about things you want to change and things like that.
So we're always conscious that we've got the right skills with the non-member trustees. For the member trustees, it's really about those who want to take a step forward from their own networks and come into a board environment and learn a bit about what the likes of the non-member trustees have learned, but also what do I learn? Well, I think, as I described before, it's that use of language and that space to challenge, which sometimes we don't always have, and space to challenge in a very non-aggressive way. You know, it makes you think about what are we trying to achieve and what are we trying to say, and is that clear to the people that really matter?
And what's the buddy system?
Each member and non-member trustee buddies up. So myself and Ross, the chair, are buddies. How does that operate? Well, very much somebody to just keep checking in on. Obviously, our positions are quite different. We're often on calls together, though, whether that's board calls, finance committee calls, whether it's thinking about, most recently we went through a process of rewriting the constitution. So we were speaking with a legal, a lawyer, and so we're on that. So we have we see each other quite a lot, and are able to just determine, check in with each other. But for others, it's a regular call, or whether it's by WhatsApp or phone. Prior to any meeting, there's always each buddy pair sits down together and goes through the board papers. So everybody's quite clear and can ask questions in an environment where perhaps they're more comfortable to say what they want and ask the questions they want, as opposed to in a meeting where there's 20 people. So that helps both in terms of their confidence, and they can ask questions, and then they can also say, well, I'd rather not ask that question myself. My non-member trustee will ask that for them in the meeting.
It's good to have somebody, that if you don't, you don't want to know to understand it, you ask them, before the board meeting. But if it's them you don't feel comfortable with or whatever, you can speak to them.
Yes, I've got a board buddy called Louise Mackay, and we get along. We talk on the phone, usually before the meeting, to discuss the board papers, to just decide on if there's any questions we might want to ask, or if there's any other information we want to find out about.
Why is it good to have Neighbourhood Network members on the board?
Well, the members, they'll know what the other members are wanting, so they'll have a broad idea as to what they're looking for and what they're trying to achieve.
I think they know best through having hands-on experience being in the networks. So they're seeing it hands-on on a day-to-day basis, so they know whether something is good or whether some things are bad. So I think that's the best way to find out what's happening in the networks from the members. So because they're obviously the big part of why the network is what it is, and then why it's there, so.
And the benefits, I think, are that, certainly from my perspective, the member trustees are those that have come through the networks, and they bring them with them that life experience that member trustees we haven't had. We've been able to follow a path that they haven't been able to follow, and they've had obstacles in their ways that we have not experienced. So by having the structure of the board such as we have, there's real life lived experiences that can shape what Neighbourhood Networks is trying to achieve. And there are a shining light, and that they can tell you exactly what they think and what about decisions. They can, you know, I've sat on other boards where people talk, you know, corporate speak, and that doesn't wash with the member trustees, because they'll say, well, what does that mean? And I find that very enlightening, you know, when I go back to other forums and I hear people speak in a strange way, and I be able to think, well, I'm sure that Ross or somebody else would have challenged that wording and said, well, what does that mean? So it keeps us on our toes. They bring us a really refreshing perspective from their experiences of what they've lived through and how we then determine the business. So a very enlightening and supportive environment, and they bring something to the Neighbourhood Networks board that I don't think you find in any other organisation.
As a board member, does your role include doing anything outside of the board meetings?
Well, if someone's applied to be a non-member trustee, members are expected to go through interview processes. So yeah, we take part in that just to determine if that potential non-member trustee is good enough to be on our boards. That's what we do. That's out with the normal board meetings that we do, which is quarterly.
I did a University with Ross and me. We spoke to about 35 or 40 people for 5 minutes, just seeing what he did and how we were involved in it, you know, and that went quite well as well.
Yes, I was with him that day, and you know, he did very well. You know, I actually was blown away by the progress that he made that day. It was really good for him to actually, you know, talk in front of a crowd. I don't think he did that. That was very impressive.
Yeah, I was when the Lanark started that. I was actually up at Lanark at the meeting, you know, to meeting people before it started. I went up there and was involved in that, where people come in and they got told what to do, you know, what it was, and before it started, a launch part for it, you know,
for potential members to come and join.
What would you say to someone considering applying to be a board member or who's unsure about applying?
I would say go for it, absolutely. Aside from the fact that you're making a huge difference to the organisation, you're also learning some new skills as you go along. And it will develop your confidence a lot better. So for anyone that's interested, I would just say, do not hesitate, just go for it.
Speak to our board members, that's actually on the board, and they'll give them advice.
I just want to say, you know, if you want to do it, try it. You know, it's when you do their best, you know. If it doesn't work, then obviously it doesn't work.
I'd say to anybody thinking of getting involved in Neighbourhood Networks, from my own experience, it's been thoroughly enjoyable. I've learned as much about other people as I have about myself, and I've learned new things to take back into a more formal environment that I wouldn't have thought of or been exposed to through my engagement. So if anybody's thinking about getting involved in Neighbourhood Networks, and there's an opportunity for you to do so, you know, speak to Heather or one of the team about what it's all about, get involved, and I'm sure they won't regret.
I would say to them to definitely put themselves forwards anyway. And if they found that they had the desire to go on and want to be part of the board, then they should obviously, I think they should apply.
What's the job of the board?
Great, thank you. So you'll have seen in that video that several of our board trustees were also net reps. So we found that being a net rep is often quite a good stepping stone and encourages members to take on more responsibility and to gain confidence with other things such as the governance process playing a part in that. So just surrounding this, I've got some of the things that the members said that they'd gained from sort of going through this process of becoming a net rep and then a board trustee, such as having their voice heard, more confidence, learning to read things out, independent travel, increased responsibility, and having their say. So that's all for us. Thank you again so much to all the net reps and the board members who spoke about their experiences, and of course a big thank you to all the net reps and board members who didn't and just do their role anyway, working in the background. I think everyone spoke fantastically, and as a fairly new staff member at Neighbourhood Networks, it was just really lovely to get that opportunity to hear from them about what it's like being a net rep and a board member. So thank you to them. And I'll stop sharing my screen now and we can unmute people in case there's any more questions.
I was just going to give a bit of feedback in the chat while people are unmuting themselves if they want to ask anything. So we talked about, sorry, Kerry said, big theme here of confidence, absolutely brilliant to hear. I'd made reference to Scott, who was Andrew's friend, how proud Scott would be of you, Andrew. Donna feels the video is an award-winning submission on its own. And Lindsay has said, wonderful to see the benefit of this for everyone, and just thanking everybody for the session because she was having to leave. And Andrew talks about very good memories. Matt, you've got your hand up.
I do have my hand up again.
All right.
What a great bunch you have on the board. And Kezia kind of answered my question about networks being a stepping stone, but I just wanted to share that it happened a little bit in reverse for us because our organisation supports people in a range of things and networks are just part of it. And we had a board member who year after year would hear about all the great things networks do and said, hey, I want a network group in my area. And he set one up probably about 6 months ago and has got that established. So it was really great to sort of see that and now have a network member on the board, you know, who's right in the thick of things and can advocate for us as well. And, you know, I've been to a lot of the board meetings over the years and it's always great to see the increased stories that form part of our annual report that come from the network groups, because generally there's so many great news stories that come from it. So yeah, I'm really proud of our members and, you know, hopefully if we get our networks up and running, there'll be a gateway for more members to be on the board as well. So thank you.
Fantastic, Matt. Thank you so much. Any other feedback or comments from anybody else before we wrap this session up? Any other questions? William, you wanted to say something?
Well, I'll just say that if I do get to, I mean, I never said to the Kezia interview, but if I'm successful in the board, if I do half as good as Ross has done, then I'll be happy with myself, you know, because I feel like Ross is a much better speaking in my arm, you know. Although up at that time at Stirling University, everybody said I'd done well. First time, you know, because I mean, the night before I texted Marie McKean-Network and said that I didn't want her down, and they would networks down and said that I wouldn't do that. So it was the first time I spoke to MD in public.
It's all about having the opportunity and the experience, William, to build your skills. So that comes with time and experience, and you're absolutely on that journey with us. So well done, you.
Yeah, and I thought it was really lovely to hear because all those interviews were done separately. So I didn't, even though sometimes it sounded like they were actually having a conversation with each other, they were all individual interviews. And I thought it was so lovely to hear William, and I don't think Ross is on this call, but to hear how you both spoke about each other and admired each other, and the confidence and how you spoke, and that mutual that you didn't even know the other person was saying the same things about you. So I thought that was really lovely to hear that what you had to say about Ross, but also what Ross had to say about you.
That's lovely, and that's all it is, peer support, and that's the root of everything we do. Michelle is saying, good luck, William. I'm sure you'll be a great candidate. And Emma,
sorry, carry on, Heather.
Emma saying, a great session and well done to all involved. Member involvement is such an important part of how the organisation evolves and really takes the members' voices into account and action. Sorry, Helen, you were going to speak there.
Just going to say, I think all our contributors should be very proud of themselves. I think they did a great job.
100%.
I'm absolutely chuffed with that. And thank you, Kezia, for filming all that. That was a big bit of work for you. Well done.
Thank you.
It's an amazing resource, though, and it's definitely something I think we can reuse, isn't it? We can be part of governance training or selling the idea to get people to step out their comfort zone and go for it, as was said in the video. So it's fantastic.
There's lots of behind the scenes footage as well of not talking about the board or the net reps so much, but just about their experience as part of Neighbourhood Networks anyway. So yeah, some great footage of them.
So a final comment from Matt. Thank you. Great session. And Kezia is going to be in touch. That's brilliant. And Cheryl has just put a final prompt and reminder about our post-conference party that's going on tonight, the Stay Up Late event from 8 till 11:30. And there's links in the chat, and there's lots of links on social media, and we'll get information out through WhatsApp for members for Neighbourhood Networks as well today. So if there's no more questions or feedback, can I just say a massive thank you to everyone for coming along, and to Helen and to Kezia for all the work you've done to put together a fabulous afternoon, and to all the trustees and net reps who've made such a great contribution. Thank you so much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.
Here, everyone. Bye-bye.